Hi there guys, this is Pete from The Great Games, and today I'm here to talk about Keyforge, which is a two-player card game. It was released back in 2018 with the very first set, which is called Call of the Archons, and it was due to be released every 6 months from then on going forward. They hit a few hiccups, one of which being COVID, and they managed to get the first 3 sets out within about just over 18 months. And then COVID hit, and then it was like 1 set a year. So far there are 5 sets out there. Which you've got Call of the Archons, you've got Age of Ascension, you've got Worlds Collide, you've got Mass Mutation, and the latest one was Dark Tidings. So yeah, COVID played a big part in what people were calling the downfall of Keyforge. But now we're in 2023, COVID isn't a thing. And a company called Ghost Galaxy, who's set up by the founder of Fantasy Flight Games, strange enough, Ghost Galaxy actually bought the rights for Keyforge and kickstarted it to gauge what interest there was in the game still, and it turns out there was a lot of interest. The game's funded in under half an hour, about 27 minutes I think from going live, and I was one of those backers because we all love Keyforge. So here at The Great Games we decided to make a video celebrating Keyforge and bringing it back to its former glory, and hopefully we're going to be either getting some of you old players who haven't played for a while back into the game, or this is going to be a quick reference for new players who want to get into the game. And yeah, we're hoping it's going to be the greatest comeback in gaming history. Okay, so let's take a look at the basic deck of Keyforge. This is what you get: 36 cards, or 37 cards, which I'll bring up here. Hopefully, come on button, work, there we go. That the 37th card is the deck list, so it tells you what houses are held in the deck and what cards are in those houses. So we will have a look at different cards as we go through this. But yes, as I said, you get 36 cards, which is split here. You get 12 of each house into a deck. Now, the sets of Keyforge, I think Call of the Archons, which this deck is, because that's one we're going to be teaching with, because it was the first set, so it's easy to teach. It's less rules involved, and we will be going through and teaching all the newer rules with the newer sets as we go on through this. But the first set we'll go concentrate on now is had 370 cards upon release, and then the second set I think also had 370, but they did get rid of about 100. No, they kept 166 of this set and introduced the 240, so it still kept it 370. But the newer sets have gone up, so I think there's 400 odd in some of the newer sets of the cards you can possibly have. So yeah, so each deck is made by a very fancy pants algorithm, which generates every deck uniquely. So you get a different Archon on the back of your deck. Each deck's got its own name. Now I'm holding this deck because this is my favourite name. It's Peters of Painmill Monastery. Right, I know. So yeah, each deck gets its own name, its own complete uniqueness. There's no 2 decks out there the same. So the things you need to get started to play a game of Keyforge are 3 keys to start with. Now, you can have, there are 3 cardboard ones here, which come, we'll have a closer look in a minute, but you get them in start sets and whatnot. You can then, if you go out, you can buy nice metal ones. There's all different types of tokens you can have for this game, but you will always need 3 keys to forge. You will then need some amber, which once again you can have cardboard ones. I've got a bunch of like acrylic. You can't really see them, they're really far away, but we'll have a closer look at them in a bit as well when we move on to how to play the game. You will need some damage tokens, you will need some stun tokens, and you'll need a chain tracking card, which is a card that looks like this. You can get, once again, all different designs, but that tracks what they call the chains, which is a bit more involved, but we will cover that as well and how to use that. Now, as I said, you don't need to use official tokens to start the learn play. You can use anything from coins, matchsticks, anything, as long as you know what is what and what you are using, obviously for what tokens. But to get started, you can quite simply buy a deck. The decks are very cheap, the older sets at the moment. I think World Collide deck, you can pick up a deck for like £2.50, so it's a very cheap game to get started in. And you can go on, obviously, buy as many decks as you want because every deck's different. And once again, the tokens you can buy is expensive or anything online. They do, so all the metal ones you can buy. You can go as mad as you like into this game, but you don't need to. You can start basic with homemade stuff. There is no right or wrong with this. So to start, you'll need to set your 3 keys turned face down. You will need to have your deck of cards shuffled and placed face down in front of you, and all of your tokens in a nice, easy to reach pile where both players can get to. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go overhead in a minute and we're going to look at cards and how it all lays out and everything else. So yeah, I'll set that up and we'll get started. Here we go. Now you can see exactly what's going on. So here is our chain tracker down here. Here's my deck here. Here's my 3 unforged keys here, which, as you can see, if you flip them over, I hope you can see from there, they're coloured one side and black and white the other side. Now what I'm going to do first of all, before we get completely into this, I'm going to show you a few of the different types of cards you can have in Keyforge. We'll start with a creature, so pop that up over there, and we'll just bring here the Witch of the Eye, so you can read that. Now, as you see, there's only one number on these cards, and that number is their health and their attack. So there's not too much figuring out to do. Like some cards have lots of different figures on there, it's overwhelming. Keyforge is nice and straightforward, to the point. The Witch of the Eye will attack for 3 and she has 3 health. And there's a keyword on there which you'll see, which is called reap, which is a major part of the game. The whole point of reaping is to gain amber. Every time you reap with the card, which basically is, show here, to reap the card, you basically exhaust it. And when you exhaust it, you take an amber from the main pool into your amber pool, and that is reaping. As simple as that. But on this one here, as you can see, she has a keyword. When she does reap, she gains the amber, and she will then return a card from your discard pile to your hand. So she's an incredibly powerful card, and I love the Witch of the Eye. It's one of my favourite houses. Is Untamed. But anyway, as you play through the game, you could do 5 basic steps in this order. At the start of your turn, you would forge a key if you have 6 amber in your amber pool. If you've got 6 amber, you spend that back to the main pool and you flip a key over. And once all 3 keys are flipped over, the first person to do that wins the game. So you do that on the start of your turn, is forge a key. The next part of your turn is you choose a house. So in this deck here, I have got House Untamed, House Sanctum, and House Dis. Now you can see which house it is by the logo up there in the top left-hand side of the card. There's a different logo for each house. You can then play, discard, or use cards of that house that you have selected. So if I'd selected here is House Untamed, then for the rest of the turn, if I've got cards in my hand with Untamed, I can play them onto the table in front of me, but I wouldn't be allowed to say play a House Sanctum card because I chose Untamed. So yeah, you can play and use or discard. If you don't want to use it, go into your discard pile and discard. And once you've played all your cards and you've done everything you can in your turn, so any cards you play down, say in Untamed, I had those to my hand, they get played down exhausted, which means you can't use them this turn. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, it's like what they call summoning sickness. So once they're played down, you can't use them the first turn unless it tells you otherwise on the cards. So once you've done all your cards in your hand, end of your turn, you ready your cards, and you then, from your deck, you would draw back up to 6 cards, which is the usual starting, or the usual cards you have in your hand at any one point. You always go back up to 6 cards. So you keep what you don't use, and then you draw back up to 6 cards. So that's it. That is a turn order. This is simple. That's 5 simple steps you go through each turn. Now, the very first turn of a game is slightly different from every other turn of the game, because player 1, when they start, you flip a coin, you decide whoever you want to, roll dice, decide who player 1 is. And at the start of the turn, player 1 actually draws 7 cards from their deck. But as they're going first, they can only play one card down on the first turn, and then they pass to the other player. So it gives them that, obviously, that head start of getting one out on the table early, but they can't do anything more than that apart from the one card, and then it goes as normal. So player 2 can then play as many cards as they like from the hand, from the house they chose, and then it passes backwards and forwards, and you keep going until you get enough amber to forge the keys. Now, a key costs 6 amber to forge normally. There are cards there which affect the cost of each key. It might say your opponent's key costs an extra 1 this turn for however many people you've got on there. There's different cards. I can't go through all the cards. As I said, there's a lot of cards in there. But basically, you will know if a card says this is +1 of your key cost this turn, then you just follow what it says on the cards pretty much. And the other thing as well, if let's say you've managed to have an amazing round for some reason, and you've collected, let's say 12 amber is sat in your pool, at the start of your turn you can only forge 1 key. So just because you've got enough to forge 2, you can only forge 1 per turn. Once again, there are cards in the decks that let you forge keys out of turn, so there'll be certain rules you have to abide by when you play a card, and then you can forge a key during the game rather than at the start of your turn. Okay, so we've already gone through what a creature looks like, which is obviously there as Witch of the Eye. So what I will do, I'll take her off there, and we will go through and have a quick look at an action card. So here we have the action card of Vigor, which it says underneath Vigor, action. So you know exactly what it is, and you know it's an action because it's got no health on there. There's no number there on the left hand side where there would normally be a number. And it says play, which is another keyword. So when you play a card, that is when it goes onto the table. As soon as you play that, you heal up to 3 damage from a creature. And if you healed 3 damage, you gain 1 amber. Now that could be any creature on the table. It doesn't say your creature. So you have to read the cards and do exactly as it said on the cards. If it says you heal your creature 3 damage, then it does. If it says heal an opponent's creature, then you do an opponent's. If it just says heal a creature, then that is any creature on the board from yours or your opponent's side. And then you gain 1 amber. And you'll also notice there up underneath the logo, the top left hand side, it has got a little picture of an amber on there, which means as soon as that card hits the table, you collect an amber from the central pool and put it into your pool. And then also if you heal 3 damage from a creature, you do it again, you take another amber. And then that card goes straight into your discard pile. Here's an example of another action. I've looked at that very quickly, which is save the pack. Once again, it says action. Top left, there's no amber, so you don't collect an amber for playing this card. But when you play it, you destroy each damaged creature and you gain 1 chain. So this is a perfect opportunity now to talk about our little chain card down here. It always starts off the charts. Now when you go on like there, it says gain 1 chain. You move your little circle, your marker, up to 1. So you're now on the -1 section. So you can go up to 6 and still be -1. Now that -1 means how many cards you draw. So when you draw back up to your normal 6 at the start of your turn, you would only draw back up to 5 for 1 turn. So once you've drawn your 5, you then slide it down. So it goes off the thing, and then you're back to 6 the next turn. So obviously if you go up to 6, then you'll be drawing 5 cards for 6 turns until every time you draw a card, you go down 1. So until you're off the charts, and then you're then back to your 6 cards. So having chains on you is not a good thing. But like that, save the pack, that will give you a definite benefit where you can destroy each damaged creature to gain 1 chain. We will have a look. In here, there will be upgrade cards. Upgrade, there we go, in House Sanctum. Let's pop that over there so you can see what a upgrade card looks like. This is called Protect the Weak. Once again, top left there you see you get an amber for playing this card, and an upgrade would go, so if you had a creature on the board there, and an upgrade card, this is an upgrade card, but let's say it is, would go behind that creature. So it attaches to that creature. So when that creature dies, the upgrade card goes with it. But as you see here, you get 1 amber for playing that onto a creature, and it gives this creature gets +1 armor and gains taunt, which means it says in brackets, explains taunt there, goes this creature's neighbors cannot be attacked unless they have taunt. So if you have 1 creature out, let's just put these out, and I played, I'm going to take this card off of there now because you've read that, and I played this Protect the Weak onto him, I would get the amber for playing it, he would gain taunt, so he would protect his 2 neighbours, so no one can attack my Witch of the Eye or my Raiding Knight until he is defeated. So he's like a bodyguard. He will make sure the damage comes to him first, unless one of his neighbours also has taunt, which means you can then choose between the 2 which one you attack. We'll get into attacking and everything very, very shortly. So as I say, some cards will have play keyword written on there, which is as soon as that card goes onto the table, that's played, and then you follow the effect it tells you to do. Okay, so we've covered almost everything now. One more thing we're going to cover is fighting. Now, fighting is very straightforward. Your creature has to be out and ready, so basically not exhausted. So if you reap with them, you can't fight with them as well because they're exhausted. Your creature would have to be ready at the start of your turn. And let's say a good example, if the other player had Sequus, which we'll have a quick look at Sequus because this is another card which here we can explain armor. So yeah, we'll cover this card very quickly, then we go into the fighting section. As you can see there on the right hand side, you've got a number 2 with a shield on it. That is that creature's armor. That armor will protect the first attack of that round. So everything else is as was. You've got his health and attack of 4, and if you reap with him, he captures 1, which once again we will go into capturing in a minute as well. So if these 2 were to fight, the Witch of the Eye would deal 3 damage to Sequus, 2 of which is blocked from its shield, so 1 damage would go through. 4 damage would come across to Witch of the Eye, so Witch of the Eye would die. So that would not be a very clever move to do that fight. But 1 damage, which is where the tokens come in, would go onto Sequus. Now, if this was in the same turn and I had another creature, let's say Teligua here, or Teliga, very difficult to pronounce. If I also had them out on the table and I decided to fight again, that shield has already been demolished this turn. So I could then fight with her. Once again, 4 damage would come back to kill her, but 3 more damage would go across to Sequus and kill him. So that is how fighting works. There are certain keywords on here which we're going to go through next actually, which alters the fighting slightly. And let's find, I think they will be, if anywhere, they're going to be in my Untamed deck. Here's one with Skirmish, and there's one I will talk to you about as I find the next card. This is what I was talking about earlier on. This is Murmuk, and as you see there, once he goes into play, your opponent's keys cost +1. So as long as he is on the board, when the opponent goes to forge a key, they will have to spend 7 amber to forge that key. And you know what, I'm just looking through this deck and I have not got 1 card in this deck. I will find another deck in a minute to show you what the other one is. But anyway, you've got Skirmish and Elusive, which we will have a quick look over here. Now, Lupo, the Scarred, has Skirmish, which means when I use this creature to fight, it is dealt no damage in return. So you would use him to fight as much as you can because he takes no damage from that fight. Whereas if your opponent was to attack Lupo, the Scarred, then he would take damage. because I'm not using him to fight, he is being attacked. So skirmish, that's what that means. You fight with him, he takes no damage. There's another keyword on here called elusive, which I will find a card hopefully for the end of this. And elusive means if that card is attacked, so your opponent will be doing the fighting, if he is attacked, the elusive card takes no damage the first attack of that round. So he would need to be attacked twice to take any damage. So those are basically your two main keywords in the starter set that you would have to use. And I think actually even in the further sets there's assault, but even that is in this set as well. And assault means that you do damage before the fight even happens. I don't think I've got any assault cards in this deck either, as far as I am aware. But yeah, that means that when you say, some of them will say assault 2, which means 2 damage is done before the fight even happens. So if that 2 damage kills a creature, then so be it. But it will put 2 damage on that creature and then the fight will happen. So it will do an extra 2 damage. Okay, so now we'll have a quick look, as I've just found an elusive card. And here he is, Urchin in House Shadows. As you see there, it says elusive. The first time this creature is attacked each turn, no damage is dealt. So yeah, exactly as I said, someone will have to attack him once and then attack him with another creature again to actually kill him, because then actually when you play him, he steals 1, which stealing is taking amber from your opponent's pool, not from the central pool. Capturing, which we did look at earlier on, which is this one here. No, I'll make sure that goes back in the right deck. Yeah, capturing, it says reap, capture a card, capture a token, an amber, which means when you reap him, you gain an amber from the central pool into your pile, and then to capture one, you take one from your opponent's pool and you place it on that card. So you would take one from the central pool into your pool like that, and then if one was in your opponent's, let's put this up over here, so one was in your opponent's pool, you would take one from that and place it on that card that captured the amber. Now, once that creature dies, that creature goes to your discard pile, the amber goes back to your opponent's pool. So basically you hold it off them for a while. It's not stealing it. You just capture it. When they die, it goes back. So that is the very, very, very basic rules of Keyforge. And it all sounds very confusing. I'm fully aware of that. But the best way to do it is to have a look at a game, and we'll have a playthrough. And what I will do, I'm going to get Matt or John round here very soon, and we will play through a game, and you can see exactly how the whole game pans out, how you fight, how you reap, how you forge keys. But this is just a very, very basic intro back into Keyforge, because the new set, Winds of Exchange, is out. They're being shipped in America at the moment. They should be on the way worldwide very, very soon. So I'm looking forward to getting that. So once I get my hands on my new decks of Keyforge, I will be doing a video on them. We'll be opening them. We'll be looking through them to see what combos we've got, to see what cards are in there. There's a new house involved. They've taken out my 2 favourite houses, which is Untamed and Shadows. All my favourite decks have those houses in, so I'm a little bit upset. But they are out of this house. As they circle all the house around and introduce new ones, that happens. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. I really hope you're as excited about Keyforge coming back as we are down the Great Games. We do play it quite regularly. We just finished a league down there. If you're interested in learning, please get in touch. You can play this game online via thecrucible.online. You can upload your cards to your account. There's so much more to cover this game. I'm not going to get into it all now, but that is the basics of how to play Keyforge. So please check out, look at other people's videos. They might explain it a lot better and clearer than me. But yeah, check it out, and we will be back very, very soon with a lot more Keyforge content. And thank you so much for watching, guys, and take care.